Diabetes is a vascular problem. Guess what happens, right? Guess what your kidneys have a lot? A lot of vascular, a lot of blood flow, a lot of issues where if you're having a vascular issues because of your diabetes or because of your high blood pressure, guess what? The kidneys are going to take the hit. All right, so today we are going to be breaking down some of these myths that I see all over my timeline associated with kidney disease, kidney failure, and what you may be doing, eating, drinking as we speak that is leading you down the path to one day to have to be on dialysis for the rest of your life. Now, again, I'm your truly Dr. Barry Pierre, board certified internist, host of Medicine Mondays. And if you want to understand what myths are, what like half truths are out there associated with kidney disease, stick around for today's episode. So when I see patients either in the hospital setting, rehab setting, I see patients everywhere, and they have these questions and concerns about kidney disease. A lot of times they really miss the story behind what leads them down the path where kidney problems may be in your future. Now, because quite often and very routinely, doctors will check labs, they check their kidney function, they check their electrolytes, they check all the things that you typically will need to check when you're concerned about kidney disease. But a lot of times the story that is really underlying gets missed. And hopefully after today, right, you'll be able to understand what that story is so you can understand, hey, am I at a high risk for kidney disease or am I at a low risk for kidney disease, right? Because again, and I say this all the time, your goal is always to try to reduce your risk for developing the disease down the line. Now, and this is why preventative care is so important, right? Because if we do enough job preventing issues down the line, yeah, it may seem boring, it may seem dull, it may seem like nothing is happening, but the time, effort, money, livelihood that you save down the line, right? Because you were, forefront to say, you know what, I want to attack this thing early, saves a world of trouble, right? Just give some numbers, right? Y'all know me, I'm a numbers person, right? And I know that a lot of times, especially for my audience, once you understand the numbers, things just make a lot of sense, right? CDC says that 1 in 7, even though we have beef with the CDC right now, 1 in 7 adults have kidney disease. 9 in 10 of these people have early kidney disease that don't even realize that they have it. So I want you to understand that, right? 1 in 7 people are dealing with kidney disease at this time, but there's a lot of people who are at a risk for developing worsening kidney disease and ending up needing dialysis or renal transplant related, therapy that don't even know it. Diabetes and hypertension. How many times have y'all heard me talk about diabetes and hypertension? Diabetes and hypertension are the top 2 causes for kidney disease, right? And this is one of those things where, and y'all hear me, I know I talk a lot about diabetes and I say I wouldn't wish it on my enemy, but it's so true because when you have kidney related issues, right, one of the first things we think about is, all right, is this person a long standing, and now I'm using my words carefully. I didn't say uncontrolled. Is this person a long-standing person with diabetes or a long-standing person with high blood pressure? Because you can have good, adequate control of those 2 diseases and still have some problems with the kidneys. Like, I don't know if you understand that. Put in the comments if you do, right? Like, drop it in the comments if you do, right? Or if you're listening on the podcast, right? Leave a comment section somewhere, right? Understanding that you can, do well managing these disease processes, right? You can have you can have a Dr. Barry as your primary and they do a great job managing diseases, but that doesn't mean that your risk for developing kidney related issues is 0, right? Like that's still a fact. We just understand that you are going to be at a higher risk. You will be at a higher risk if those things aren't taken care of, right? So diabetes, hypertension are 2 of the biggest issues, right? So let's talk about not only with those diseases and certain over-the-counter medications and certain protein shakes that, you guys may be downing, 3-4 times a week, right? Let's talk about some real life causes associated with chronic kidney disease that if we just manage now, right? If we manage while we're young and healthy, we can definitely steer our way away from some trouble. So I like to go back to residency, right? The reason why I like going back to residency because a lot of times that is the first time I had personal experience with a lot of diseases, right? Whether it be hypertension, diabetes, strokes, blood clot in the lungs. Like a lot of times during residency is the first time I've had my experience. So I remember taking care of this older gentleman who, coming in for his regular checkup. He was a diabetic patient, and he took his medications. Like he had a good control of his blood sugars, right? Blood sugars, A1C was, let's say 6.5, like very good control, very good control. And he came to me and said, "Hey doc, I'm just feeling tired, right? Like I'm feeling tired. I'm not necessarily feeling myself. My energy is down, right? And you know what? I also noticed that when I urinate, I tend to urinate a little more frequently. The color is a little bit darker. Like all of these things here was just of concern, right? Because he was like, "Hey doc, I'm doing what I need to do on my diabetes, but I'm just not feeling my best self." And when he came to me, I do my thing, right? Get a good HPI. I was already concerned, like, all right, there may be some either electrolyte issues or something going on the inside that is causing a problem. I do the blood work. I get the blood work back. Again, I'm a resident. I'm in a bit of state of shock because here's a person who's been doing well with his blood sugars, reportedly doing well with blood sugars, weight control, not missing his medications. And here was this person whose kidney function was almost on the doorsteps of me having to send him to the hospital. Not like send him and get a referral. No, send him to the hospital, right? Because his kidney function was so bad. And it was the first time that I realized, like, wow. So you're telling me that as a diabetic patient who does what they're supposed to do, right? Like your kidney functions can still take the hit? Right? Like think about that, right? Your kidney functions can still get hit across the head, even if you are controlling the primary issue that's causing the problem. Right. So, and I had to learn, right. One of my attendings, made me do a PowerPoint presentation on it. Right. That's how I know about it. Do a PowerPoint presentation on just the aspect of kidney related issues associated with diabetes. I didn't realize there was that many. I did not realize there's that many, right? Like, again, because a lot of times when we talk about diabetes, obviously it's not a diabetes episode, but a lot of times when we talk about diabetes, people always focus on blood sugar, blood sugar, blood sugar. But what I learned, like especially out of residency and just being as an attending physician, is that diabetes is a vascular problem. Guess what happens, right? Guess what your kidneys have a lot of vascular, a lot of blood flow, a lot of issues where if you're having a vascular issues because of your diabetes or because of your high blood pressure, guess what? The kidneys are going to take the hit. And his kidneys took a hit. Now, of course, I had to call him up and say, "Hey, you know what? I understand why you're having these issues. Guess what? I need you to see this person here immediately. Not like next week, like immediately you got to go see the kidney specialist." Right? We have to do that. And we actually ended up sending him to the hospital just to kind of get his kidney function kind of back in check and get some fluids. And because it was, like I said, it was that concerning. But like that was my first kind of rodeo of, this kidney issue is a problem, right? Like when I spoke to the nephrologist at the time, he was like, "Yeah, if this guy would have went for another, 3 to 6 months, right? Like he'd probably be needing dialysis right now." Like, thankfully, he was still in that window where we can kind of manage the way we needed to manage. But he was like knocking on the door for needing dialysis, which is a life-changing event for a lot of people. Talk to anyone who's been on dialysis. So I want us to understand that when we think about kidney disease and kidney failure, like those are like the big triggers, right? Like those are the big issues that we definitely need to be concerned about, right? When we're thinking of like, it's not an issue, right? And what I say, right, and what I say this all the time, your body does a great job. Your body does a great job dealing with diseases until it can't no more. Until it can't no more. And once it can't deal with those diseases, guess what? You end up seeing, someone like me saying, "Hey, doc, I'm just not feeling well and I don't know why." So a lot of times, if you are not actively, seeking your doctor, getting your regular routine checkups, these are things that can get missed because your body will kind of deal with it and handle it as much as it can until it can't no more. All right, so let's talk about the kidney, right? Let's stop beating around the bush, right? Like, what do you need to do to prevent you from going down the path to needing dialysis, right? So again, these are some things here where, again, when we talk about the perfect storm, right? Whether you're diabetic, whether you're a hypertensive patient, right? Whether you take anti-inflammatories because you got some knee pain, because you got some back pain, right? Whether you're taking these, and I see this all the time, these kidney cleanse supplements, right? Like for some reason, the supplement industry recognizes that all I have to say is toxic metabolized cleanse, right? And you guys will end up buying it, right? Like you guys will just buy whatever, because you guys think like toxins are just kind of sitting in your body, right? Like neither here or there, neither here or there. Different conversation at a different time. But these are some things that I need you to know, right? So again, like write it down. If you're listening on a podcast, get to listening. Number one, you should know your numbers. What numbers am I talking about? When we talk about the kidney function, like when you say, oh, your kidneys are good or bad, what am I talking about? One, GFR. Got to know your GFR. And we've had conversations about the GFR before, especially in the past where if you were Black, your GFR was different versus if you were not Black, right? Which thankfully we had to fight to get rid of that because that was absolutely ridiculous. Your creatinine, right? That's the number. Typically, when you hear people say my kidneys are bad or good, it's because they're mentioning that number, right? So creatinine, circle that on your list of labs. Extremely important. Albumin as well. And again, and this is something where typically your doctor will always kind of get what we call like a basic metabolic profile that includes all of these labs, right? Like it's just like a basket, like boom, kidney function, electrolyte, it includes that, right? So usually if you say, hey doc, get me the basic metabolic profile or even the complete metabolic profile, it comes in there. You should know about your blood sugar. You should know about your blood pressure. Why should you know that? Like we just talked about this, right? We just talked about my guy in residency, right? He was a blood sugar issue, right? And because he was a blood sugar issue, it ended up being bad for his kidneys, right? But blood pressure issue could also end up being bad for your kidneys. A lot of y'all are walking around right now. Don't tell on yourself. Well, tell yourself in the comments. You can tell yourself in your comments. Right? A lot of you are walking right now, you couldn't even guess what your blood pressure is or what your blood pressure has been in the past 3 months. And you guys are walking past all of these grocery stores with these free blood pressure cuffs and you just completely ignoring it. Completely ignoring it. You're acting like it's not even there, right? Again, don't tell on yourself, but I see you. So you gotta know your numbers. If you're pre-diabetic, you're diabetic, you're hypertensive, pre-hypertensive, you got to know your numbers. Watch your medications. Watch your medications because the medications, again, the ones that are prescribed, but more importantly, the ones that typically get people in trouble are the over-the-counter medications that, guess what? Like you have two organs. If you didn't know it right now, you have two organs in your body that does most metabolizing of your medications: your liver or your kidney. Two, right? Liver or kidneys. A lot of medications get metabolized by the kidney. A lot of medications get metabolized by the kidney. So you got to know which ones those are, so you're not downing medications that now the kidneys take a hit. And then if you're not drinking, you're not getting in enough fluids, that's a whole different conversation. But you got to make sure you know which medications. And then hydration. Drink your water. Water. And I'm stressed. Drink your water. Because a lot of y'all are just drinking Red Bulls and protein shakes and all these things here that don't do well for your kidneys. Again, and I'm not saying you can't drink these things. I'm just saying that those shouldn't replace you. Those shouldn't replace the water that should be in your body, right? A lot of y'all are drinking so much that y'all don't even drink water because y'all just think it's liquid, that's water. No, drink water. And then again, your proteins issues again, because a lot of times, right, your liver and your kidneys can cause a problem, especially when it comes to metabolizing, right? So understand, right? Understand if any of those, right, if any of those actionable strategies, right, if any of those actionable strategies we just talked about, right, we listed 5 of them. If they surprise you, right, like let me know, right? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We want more people to know about the show, know about the episode, and make sure they're attacking, any way they can to try to prevent you guys from being dialysis. I don't want you guys being dialysis. I don't want to have to take care of you while you're on dialysis, right? So you got to do that, right? First and foremost, right? So before we get up out of here, right? Y'all know I gotta knock out some myths that I've been writing, I've been seeing. A lot of y'all, again, I mentioned this earlier. A lot of y'all are trying to cleanse yourselves or trying to detox yourselves from things. Your kidneys do a great job detoxing. In fact, one of your kidneys' main job is removing toxic metabolites out your system. I can assure you there's not a supplement out there that's going to do that better than the kidneys. I can assure you that there is not a supplement out there that's going to detox and remove the metabolites out of your bloodstream better than your kidneys. So, and again, I don't care what they told you. I don't care what that supplement store told you to get you to buy that, or that blog post or whatever, that online store. Nah, your kidneys do a great job as long as you give it the support it needs, right? That means you're hydrating yourself. That means you're knowing your numbers. You're making sure your sugars and your blood pressure isn't out of whack, right? You're not downing yourself with all this protein shakes and all that, right? You give your kidney the support, your kidneys will run with the ball, right? Like, so to speak. And again, right? And again, I just talked about that. And again, focus on the simple things, right? Focus on the simple things, right? Again, all these miracle cleanses and all, again, it just irks my mind, right? And what I hate is when I see healthcare professionals, a lot of them who don't really be doctors, right? They don't even really be doctors, right? But they keep like espousing to get this. No, like, in fact, if you go on my show notes, I have a list of supplements that I always recommend, right? But they're the ones I always recommend, like, because they actually work and they actually do well. I'm not going to be telling you to get this detox tea or this, cola cleanse. Like, I'm not going to tell you to do none of that stuff. Like, that's just, no, I'm not going to do that. Not here. So just to recap, right? Just to make sure we caught what we need to do. Today we knocked down, hopefully. Some of these myths that y'all been thinking about your kidneys and what causes kidney issues. And again, and there's some things that, and the stuff I mentioned today are some of the things that we can kind of manage, right? If you got a family history of kidney disease, you got to be much more aggressive in some of those actionable strategies I mentioned, right? If you have a history of diabetes, a history of hypertension, you got to be much more aggressive in managing the things that you can manage, right? Because there's certain things you just can't manage, right? You can't manage your genetics. Your genetics are your genetics. But we can manage the things we eat, the things we drink, how often we exercise, with our activity level. We can manage those things. The things that we can't manage, like we can manage not smoking cigarettes, right? Because that's a problem with the kidneys as well too, right? There's a lot of things we can manage, right? But the things we can't manage, right? Like, again, I'm not gonna tell you you can't fix it for the most part. So understand, before this video, right? We talked about it, right? Like, you don't have to worry about these cleanses and these detoxes. They do not work. But you better be worried about that ibuprofen, that Advil, those NSAIDs, those over-the-counter medications that you take that you think don't cause any harm, because so many people end up in the hospital. I take care of so many patients, especially young people. I take care of so many patients who end up in the hospital because these over-the-counter medications, because a lot of people think it's always the prescribed, controlled medication. No. This is ones that y'all can go to y'all grocery store right now, that the pharmacies aren't even hiding behind these locked glasses boxes anymore. It's those that can cause just as much problem more than anything else, man. So what I want to do, right? What I want to do is make sure I'm going to leave for those, especially those on my YouTube channel, we'll put a link to a kidney safety checklist, right? Just a quick little checklist that you guys should have just to understand what you can do, what you should be doing, and things to avoid in your journey. I like to call it in your health journey, but more importantly, your journey to make sure you stay away from the dialysis center. My goal, if I can try to prevent everyone from going to need and be dialysis, right, I've done my job, right? I've done my job, right? So again, you guys be blessed and y'all have a great day.